Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jose Vega, and in this episode, I'm gonna show you a way that you can create your own assets for a 3D kit, but also I'm gonna be giving away a Wacom Intuos Bluetooth. Stay tuned. All right, so the technique that I'm gonna show you today is gonna be us using stencils. Now, I usually do this process in 3D Coat, but I am going to show you how to do that in Blender as well as in 3D Coat, just in case you don't have 3D Coat. But it's actually a lot faster in 3D Coat. Blender is a little bit slower because you rely on applying displacements and all that. But I'm still gonna show you just so you can see the process and you can try it out for yourself. So what you see here is my recent 3D kit that I did. And I use multiple techniques to create all these pieces, right? We have some trees and rocks and all that. But one of these pieces, like this one, it was created using stencils. Now, using stencils, it has many different names. You can use displacements and all that, but let's just call it stencils for now. And this works using a black and white 2D image to create depth into the model, just like any displacement would do, right? So let me show you what that looks like. So if you go to Photoshop here, this is what I used for that piece right there. And the cool thing about this process is that you can design your things here in 2D in Photoshop and trying to imagine what surfaces are going to be coming forward to the camera and push back and all that using values. And that way you can apply this as a displacement in Blender or as a stencil in 3D Coat, and you can easily and very quickly create complex objects by using 2D images like this. Now, I made a few for that kit. So this is another example, another example for smaller details, right? And the way that you have to think about this is that the lighter the value, so the more towards white, let's bring the scale slider here. So the more towards white, the more pronounced it's gonna be that area. So the darker it is, the more pushback into the distance is going to get pushed, right? So you have to think about what you want to come forward, what you want to stay in the middle, what you want to be pushed back into it. So this is an example here of one of the stencils that we're going to be using, right? And again, I'm not going to really show you how to do this. You can just use this using your selection tools. You can use brushes, however you want to create that image. You can just create it. And in Blender, the way you can apply that is, let's have a new image, a new file here, and let's just create a plane. And let's scale that up by 10. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to edit mode and then right click, subdivide, and then just add subdivisions to this, because you do need a lot of mesh to create a displacement for that to work, right? And so we're gonna go to our modifiers, and there's multiple ways that you can apply a displacement in Blender, but the way I usually do it is through modifiers because I use Eevee most of the time. And if you were doing, for example, cycles, then you can apply that in the textures and so on and so forth. But this is the way that I normally do it. So let's just add a modifier here, and let's go to Displace. And what I'm going to do, and you can see that the plane just shifted up, but we can fix that in a few. And we're gonna create a new file here. And let's go to find that stencil that you see here. So let's go to open, and I'm going to find that, and here it is. And you can see that it has, this is doing something, but it's not what we want, correct? So what's happening here is that we need to unwrap that plane and then apply that displacement in our UVs, right? So let's just turn that off here, and I'm gonna go to edit mode, and then just go unwrapped. And now on the displays modifier in the direction, in coordinates, we'll go to UVs, and then let's turn that on. Now right now it's a little bit too strong, so in strength, let's just put 0.1. Now you can start seeing a little bit closer to what we have here. It's still too strong, so let's just bring that down. Maybe 0.03 here. And it looks really choppy because it doesn't have enough geometry. And this is why it takes a little bit longer here in Blender, because your computer could, not handle the amount of geometry that you need for displacement, but we're just gonna try and see how that goes. So, I mean, it's already applied, so you can see that it's already working. So let's just try to add another modifier, a subdivision. And let's crank that up a little bit. And now you can see that that's getting a little bit closer to what we want. But again, you need the you need to add the subdivisions for that to work. Let's shift the subdivision on top so it actually applies it before the displacement. And now you can see that we have a better product here. And since this is modifiers, you can always place with the strength here of this to get something that is closer to what you want, right? And let's shade that smooth and maybe fix the normals here. Now we got something that looks like the displacement that we have. Now you can keep cranking this up, the subdivision, to get even smoother transition. But now you can just apply all this. You can decimate it. So for example, right now it is gonna be pretty dense. So you can just apply all these modifiers and then decimate it just to get rid of the useless polygons that you're gonna get in these planes over here, right? But this is just one of the ways that you can do it here. Now in 3D Coat, let's get into 3D Coat here. And what I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's actually just create a box here. Just scale that up and down here, right? Let's just press enter to create it. And now, right now, it's about 4.8 million polygons. It doesn't need to be that much. So I'm just gonna rescale this to, let's just say 1.2, just because we don't need that much. But and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my orthographic mode here on the top. I'm gonna go to stencils here. And now I already have it uploaded. So I'm just gonna click that one. And you can see that is sort of like having a apply here tile, just so we can visualize it. But I don't want it to be tiling because I just need it once. And I am going to set it up here so you can actually place it. And let's get rid of this, so it's already there. And now we're gonna use maybe the build brush here. And I'm gonna use my square section here. And I'm just gonna click and drag here and see what we get. So now we got something. Let's get rid of this. Let's go to my perspective. And now we got something really nice here using that stencil. And we can always chop off the areas that we don't need. For example, we don't need this, or oops, let's actually go back. It's better to do this in orthographic mode. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Here. Here. And we can get rid of this. Either that, or if you want that other section there, let's just cut it a little bit lower. And now we have a nice piece here. Now this has 1.5 million, so we'll have to decimate it and export it. But you can see how quickly we just got this, and now we can just export it. Now, what you can do is, once you have this, if you want something to add, because this is just mostly the major shapes and some medium shapes, but if you wanted to add some more detail here, we can actually sculpt on top of this just to create more detail. I'm gonna set up my Cintiq to do that because I have the actual flex arm here. So I'm just gonna bring this down here. And now I can actually sculpt here just a little bit, just to add a little bit more detail to this asset here. And I'm not gonna do too much because I actually want the textures that we're gonna put to add most of the fine details. I just wanna add a little bit of, just to break up some of the major and medium shapes here, just so it doesn't look too perfect and too clean. And so I'm just gonna go inside here and just sort of like, create some defects and maybe some erosion and damage and that sort of thing. All right. All right, so now that we got something a little bit worked out here, now again, I don't want to do too many crazy details. I want to keep it as big as possible because we're going to add some details, or we're going to get some details from the actual textures that we are going to do. And so, so once you're happy with your assets, I can make sure you double check that we can decimate it. And let's try to just resample this, bring it down to 500,000. And we don't lose a lot of detail here. So this is good. And we're gonna, again, decimate it inside Blender again when we import it, before we do all the texturing and all that. So, but we just wanna make sure that we can keep it as low as possible from 3D Coat into Blender. So once you're happy with this, and we are going to export it, we can simply just, let's go into Blender here. This is the one that we did here. And let's move my Cintiq here so we can work. And I'm just gonna delete this because we don't need it. And let's actually import the asset here. So we're importing here. And again, we are going to decimate it in here before we export it back to do all the texturing. So let's scale this down. Not much. All right, so here's the asset. And if you go to wireframe, you can see that it's pretty dense. There's a lot of polys here that we really don't need. So let's actually just decimate this. And let's save this. And the way we're gonna decimate this is we're gonna be using modifiers as well. So let's add a modifier here, decimate. And I like to do 2 steps of decimation. The first one will be the normal collapse one, and I'm just gonna bring this to 0.1. Again, this is gonna vary depending on your asset and how much you want to decimate it and all that, but you can see already that this is way lower than what we had. And again, since these assets normally are using just for concept art, I'm not really interested in getting perfect topology or anything like that. because you know, we're either gonna paint over there, we're just gonna use a render as a base for our concepts and all. This is not meant to be a final 3D model, but this is definitely good enough for concept art and doing paintings and all that. And once we add that, we're gonna add another one, and then now we're going to do a planar. So we're just gonna click on planar, and it's gonna think for a little bit. And now it's gonna bring it even lower than what we had before, right? So let me duplicate this so you can actually see the difference. And let's get rid of this. So this is the one that we brought from 3D Coat, and this is the one that we are decimating in Blender, right? So you can see there's a huge difference in poly count, right? But if we get this off, they look pretty much the same, right? You cannot really tell how much of a difference there is from one to the other with that poly count, right? Let's get rid of the high poly here, and let's take a look here. So this is good. Now what we want to do is, right now is 21.8 thousand polys, which is not bad. But now we are going to unwrap this. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go to edit mode. Let me just save. Go to edit mode, select everything, pressing A, and then U for my UV mapping options here. I'm just going to go Smart UV Project. I could probably do box, but let's just try Smart UV. And the way I'm going to texture this, you can do texturing in Blender and all that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it into Quixel Mixer, and I'm going to do a more realistic type of textures to this asset. So if you go back to the original kit here, this is a little bit more stylized type of texturing here, which it was done fully in Blender here. But I want to do a little bit of a different approach just to show you the full process, because there are some of the kits that I've done that are a little bit more realistic. And so I want to show you that process using Quixel Mixer, right? So so now that we have this unwrapped, let's actually just export this. And now we can go back or into Quixel Mixer and actually texture this. But before, let me give you the information about the giveaway. Wacom was generous enough to send a Wacom One Creative Display, which is sort of like a mini Cintiq. And let's look at the specifications here. Display size is 13 inches. You have the HD resolution and the pen and all the components here. And I think this is a great tool. If, for example, especially if you don't have like a Cintiq and you want to dive more into that, into using these pen displays. But the way to enter is you have to make sure you're a subscriber to the channel and like and comment on this particular video. Make sure that you comment, because I'm gonna pick the winner from the comment section, and I will comment back to whoever wins on Friday, and that way I can get your information and send the Wacom to you. And so that's the way to enter, and good luck. All right, so now we're here in Quixel Mixer, and let's start saving this. And you can see I already brought in the model that we exported, right? And so I'm not gonna do a full Quixel Mixer tutorial, but I just want to show you how powerful this tool is, especially if you want to do something quick that looks presentable, that you can just sort of like rinse and repeat in your work, right? So let's so yes, you can see I don't have any layers. I have a base layer here, and the cool thing about this is that you can go to a surface layer, and these are all the materials that I've bought, throughout the time that I've gotten it. And what you can do here is sort of like mix them up and create your own materials to actually have something a little bit more unique in your asset. So let's just grab some stone here. Let's see what we got. And again, these are the ones that I've gotten. But if we go to online here, there's the full library that you can actually get. And so maybe we use this crackstone one. And once you select it, I'm going to go to tiling here. Now you can already see that we have something going on here, and you can change the color of this. If I wanted to have a little bit more on this side here, let's click that apply. And I want this to be a little bit bigger, or I mean smaller. I'm gonna tile that texture a little bit more. I want this asset to look old and sort of like rough. So I'm gonna do the same thing out of surface layer, and maybe let's add a black rock here, and let's make that a little bit darker. And what I want to do is, one of the more powerful things about Quixel Mixer is that you can add a mask to this, and let's just say curvature map. If I press 9, I'm gonna see how that mask is being applied to here. And I just want to have some sort of variation in the texture here. So the white is gonna be where that texture is gonna be applied, and then the darker it is gonna be more opacity to it. I just wanna do a quick little mix here. And again, I wanna go to tiling. Something like that, where we can see sort of like two different textures here. All right, so this is going to be the one that I'm gonna be going with. As you saw, I went back from Blender to Mixer because I was trying different projections for the UVs to see which one worked best. But I'm just going with this one just so you can actually see how that works. I have just a few textures here, something simple. I wanted to keep that sort of like ancient looking stone asset to this. So what I'm going to do is we're just gonna go to export. I'm gonna export it as a 4K. Now that we exported that, let's go back to Blender here, and I'm going to have my shader editor here, and it already has a principal BSDF attached here. So if you have Node Wrangler active in your plugins, you can just press Ctrl-Shift-T, and then that's gonna bring a window here, and then you just gotta find your textures and just select them all and go here, and it would apply them automatically to this. So let's take a look here to see how this looks. Let's go to the render editor here, and let's add some lights here. So I'm just gonna do a atmosphere, disco atmosphere plugin here real quick. And let's actually rotate this. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. Let's actually shade smooth here and auto smooth here. It doesn't look like we have the ambient occlusion map here, so I'm just gonna bring that into here. I'm just gonna dragging it from my folder into here, and I want to do a mix of my color with the ambient occlusion. So the way to do that, if you have Node Wrangler, again, Control Shift and then right click and just drag from these two, and it will mix them. And I want to have my mix as multiply here. Now it's just a little bit of the, you're gonna see just a little bit in there, but you can play with how much you want in it. Also, we need to bring on ambient occlusion into Eevee here. Got some bloom, screen space reflections. And now you can see that we have a little bit, bring that up there. And now we have our assets. So there's a lot more that you can do with the textures. For example, I'll give you guys a little trick here. Let's just bring here. We can eliminate this. We probably don't need that. And what I want to do is duplicate this whole thing. So let's just do a Control G to group it. And so this is my group of what we just did here with all these textures, right? Just have it simplified like this. I want to duplicate this. And I am going to, since this is the same, I'm actually going to work on this one. I want to make this texture darker. So I am going to add a hue and saturation on my color here. Let's just bring the value down just a little bit. And now, so we have the dark one here and we have the previous one, the original here. And I want to mix this too. So again, Control Shift, click and drag. Now I'm mixing them. But now what I want is for the darker to be sort of like more on the bottom as it goes up, right? So we can have that sort of effect that the bottom part is just a little bit more dirty and it's been through more. So I want to add a ramp here, color ramp. And I want to add a texture coordinates. And I also want to add a separate X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna attach my Z to the factory here, my color to the factory here. And let's see here. Oops, let's do generated. I think it's object here. Oops. Okay, so I figured out what was wrong. What happening was that when we copy this group here, when we copy the first group that we did, for some reason it was an instance. So everything that I was doing on one group was doing it to the other one. And so that's why we weren't seeing any changes on the texture here. But now I fixed that. I just duplicated the nodes and I just created a new one. And now we have a lighter and a darker one. And if you can see here, you can see the difference between the two. Right here, you don't see that much, but if you go here, you can make this way darker. That way you can actually see that. And now what I'm using to control this is this sphere here. And I can control how high I want that. And of course, I don't want that straight, line here. So I want to diffuse that more. And we can put this to ease. So it's more of a gradient here. And now I can place this sphere wherever I want to in terms of the Z-axis to control how much of that darker. And I don't want too much, I just want a little bit here like that. That way there's a little bit of difference as it goes up. Now you can just sort of tweak depending on how specific you want to get with this, but this will give you an idea of how to sort of use the whole process of creating an asset. And from using stencils to taking it into Blender, decimate it, bring it into Mixer, texture it, and then bring it back into Blender to finish it up and then create your own kit. All right, so that's it for this process. Again, there's multiple ways that you can do this, but this is just one way that I use, and I wanted to show you guys. Also, remember the giveaway instruction. Just make sure that you like, subscribe and comment on this video. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, guys, so that was it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you want to enter in the giveaway, make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment in this video so I can actually draw a winner. I will contact you directly or in the comment section below, whoever the winner is, on my next video. But also, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.